We're in a race against time here, a desperate race against time because my laptop battery is low. So we will proceed forthwith. This is about a survey that my company did, and I was the primary architect of it, about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, terms we all know. What we were looking to do was to get a feel for where the market is, where real customers are. And I think this is probably the most what are some of the other things? Help people set strategy, investments, decide what to do, that sort of thing, vendor selection. This was a very broad survey. Survey was produced Q2, Q3 of 2017. Target respondents were people who are participating in AI, ML, and DL. We had a total of 308 respondents from 308 different organizations. Survey ran for a month. Got a confidence interval of 95%, margin of error of 5.58% because I know you people love numbers. More than 140 different individual questions and data points. I think this is probably the most comprehensive AI, ML, DL survey that's been done. I haven't seen anything any longer, and damn was this thing long. So let's go into the demographics a little bit. Industry, wide range of industries, a lot of financial services, a lot of manufacturing, both business to business and business to consumer. A lot of medical health care, some IT vendors in there. You can see that as well as I can. Number of employees, a lot of these companies are small. A lot of these companies that are working with AI are still small. But we did get a good, decent portion, at least a decent portion of larger organizations. And you'll see some more stats about what people are actually doing. Role in organization, I don't ask in surveys, I don't ask what your job title is, because if you're responded as a bank, everybody in a bank is a VP of something or other. So it's not very meaningful cross industries and cross companies. So we ask what they do. And as you can see, wide range of experience, wide range of decision making, and current involvement in AI. What I really like is that the number at the very top there on the left, no involvement in AI, is very small, about 4 or 5%. So we're happy with that. A lot of folks in the survey are substantially or full-time involved with AI, ML, DL, et cetera. Interesting on the right, we asked them to rank their knowledge of artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, and look at how low people rank themselves. Look at how few rank themselves as an expert. It goes to show just how new and how young this segment of the industry is. It's early. It's still very early. You'll see that result coming up again and again. Asking them how they consider AI in juxtaposition with data warehousing, BI, and big data, the vast majority see it as either a milestone in their path, so in other words, a subset, or actually as a subset of AI. A lot of customers out there in the real world are still getting their hands around taking advantage of big data. And that's what their artificial intelligence is going to do. But as someone once said, and I'm going to claim this as my own, you can't have AI without BI. So you can't get there until you have control over your data. So significant numbers of folks, majority, see a difference between AI, machine learning, and deep learning. Although these terms are kind of used interchangeably in the industry, they probably shouldn't be. Most folks consider themselves doing AI or machine learning, about 80% to a little less than 20%. And stop me anytime you have questions, or if you want to just shut me up. We asked about future AI budgets and where they're going to be spending their money. It slightly favors the cloud. And I don't have the slides in here, but drilling down, you find that most folks are looking to use the cloud. Where they're looking to use the cloud, it's for learning, for training models. When it gets down to inference, they're probably going to use on-premise systems. This is a big point. This was brought out again and again in the survey. Big gap in training, knowledge, skills when it comes to AI, machine learning, deep learning. As you can see on the left, that the budgets are going to rise significantly for training and education. Staffing and recruitment, same thing. Another data point that isn't in here is that customers are going to be using a lot of professional services for this as well. So why AI? And what department's driving it? In industry, it's primarily engineering and customer service and maintenance. Why? It's because it's going to help them reduce cost in maintaining things. In other words, think of sensors on equipment, letting them know when that equipment needs some maintenance or when a part is about ready to fail. I was expecting to see sales and marketing come up a bit bigger from enterprise in terms of why AI. What are the benefits? Business innovation and competitive advantage. It's a pretty small number of folks that say it's the next big thing and we've got to be on board. But still 10% say that they don't really have a proven use case yet and they just need to be up with it. Cost reduction is number 2, which also falls in line with that result on the left with engineering, customer service, and maintenance being the drivers. Most companies are using their regular IT to handle AI, but still a little over 40% are using special teams. So, what are they actually doing? And what is their predominant problem? It's interesting that if you look at the chart on the upper left, it's, you know, when you add the 2 bottom things up, big analytics, big data analytics, mix of search and computation, and complex queries, that's a pretty big amount. It's almost half of all the respondents. Not a whole hell of a lot of data visualization, some deep learning. Take a look at the data size to the right of that. They're doing some big projects. The data size for their largest AI effort is 550 terabytes. That's pretty big. Combined total size is about 610 terabytes, which tells you that there's a lot of folks that are doing one big project out there. Supervised versus unsupervised learning. More predominantly, it's supervised, but close runner-up is both supervised and unsupervised, and of course, people using a variety. Very little actual production AI going on today. Well under 10%, which I don't think should be a surprise. Although you read in the industry press about how everybody's doing AI and you hear a couple of anecdotes, vast majority of customers in the real world, and this does include some research types, aren't there yet. It's early. This is really interesting. If you're familiar with AI frameworks, and damn, am I familiar with AI frameworks now? There are a lot of them. There are a whole lot of them. I think we have about 23, 25 listed on this slide. And what we asked is what the bar represents. Are the respondents that said that they're planning to use, or they've already used, or they expect to use, or they're an expert user of these frameworks. And look at that. Everybody out there has some fans, right? People can answer multiple frameworks, of course, so these aren't going to add to 100. But even, you look at the bottom, Numenta, Paddle, which is primarily in China, and this survey was primarily North America. TensorFlow #1, IBM Watson is up there pretty high, Spark up there fairly high, Keras, Apache, etc. But it's kind of surprising the range. I was expecting it to trail off to 0 fairly soon after the top 4 or 5. Hardware usage, not a real big surprise. The main systems vendors are out there. It's kind of interesting. Oracle Sun, #4, right? Oracle Sun, Sun Microsystems is dead. Why did that show up? Because that's where the ERP data is. That's where the corporate data is. It's on those Oracle databases, the folks that haven't moved off but would probably love to, but that's why that's there. Hardware accelerators. We dug up every damned accelerator we could find, and there are a whole bunch of them. Everything from the NeuroRAM 3 project, which I'd never heard of, but all the way up through the Google TPUs, AMD GPUs, and NVIDIA. It works out about how you would expect. NVIDIA has by far the most familiarity over the others. It's interesting, if you start looking in here, about 4 or 5 of these are now Intel. And that's 5, of course, Altera, Nirvana, and then there's a couple more that they probably bought since I made this slide. So Intel is going big after accelerators. So data attributes, one of the things that I've heard a lot is that it's all about unstructured data. Unstructured, unstructured, unstructured. It's not. And the reason that this pie doesn't add up to 100 is because we allowed an answer of both unstructured and structured data. But what we're finding is that essentially unstructured data is just data that's on its way to being structured at some point. And that's what the respondents backed up. Source of data for a vast majority is log data coming off of hardware, equipment, things that they have, ERP data, and also sensor and IoT data. Really interesting, on the far right is the data type. And again, from reading the trade press, you would think that everybody's trying to identify images of cats and things like that. Those are the examples you always hear. Not so much. It's still numbers and text. That's number one. This is interesting too, application development. In-house versus contractors, mostly in-house. There's going to be an awful lot of custom application development. And take a look on the right-hand side, the bottom bar. We asked if there was a turnkey project, turnkey AI available, that you could call up Dell or whoever, some software company, Google, and they will give you a turnkey AI. Would you want it? Less than 30% said they would. They see very big competitive advantage in this, and that competitive advantage is coming from the customization of it. So turnkey, not so much. These people are going to be, again, it's a pretty broad representation of the market, but they're going to be building their own AI, machine learning, and deep learning, at least a large percentage of it. Top challenges, it's all around the data. It's trying to get the necessary volume of data, and it's trying to clean that data going in and going out. But look at the next two from the top, ability to hire skilled personnel and skill set inside the organization. They are hurting when it comes to having good, solid AI, machine learning, deep learning experts. So if you folks have some expertise and feel like stepping out into private industry, there's probably a pretty warm welcome awaiting you. Asked a bit about hardware, just to get another feel for these folks. A lot of small clusters out there, but a pretty big number between 32 to 512 nodes, or up to 1,024 nodes. And the largest nodes in their clusters still dominated by the 32 to 128, and smaller, it's new. This is a new thing. People aren't there yet. Although we do have an outlier up there at greater than 2048 nodes. We got to figure out who that guy is and get some more information from them. Cluster interconnects, GLOD, don't look at that. Your beloved InfiniBand is not quite there yet. They're primarily using the fastest Ethernet they can get. But you guys sell Ethernet too. So you're good with that, right? Yeah, it doesn't make any difference to you. You're a GLOD chainer. Memory per node, a lot of memory per node. Not surprisingly, big chunk are using 128 gig or more. Again, still quite a few with the smaller clusters are probably using the smaller amount of memory. A little bit of a typo on that next one. It should be 3 or 4 GPUs, not more GPUs, accelerators per node. There are a fair amount of folks that are running that. HP has some new, and I think, who else? HP and I believe Inspur or Huawei have one node that can handle 8 GPUs, 8 P100s. And I know this because I've seen it in action, and the student cluster competition. A couple student cluster competition teams were using them, and the HP version grabbed so much power it blew its own power supply during Linpack like 3 times in a row. They had to back off. But 8 accelerators per node that's serious. Talking a little bit about vendor selection. Do they have a good grasp of what the market has to offer? And I'm with the 51% that say there's too much going on and it's too hard to keep up. I'm a little surprised that almost half, at 49%, said, no, it's not AI, machine learning, deep learning, not that complicated. I tend to think that they're probably pretty early in the process because I think it is pretty complicated. As you saw, the choices of the frameworks, 20, 25 frameworks, there's a lot of stuff to go through. They've also, not surprisingly, picked the product first, not the vendor first, which is good to know. I'm a little surprised that that's not higher. We've only scratched the surface in this. I've gone pretty quickly, haven't I? Yeah. Thank you, or thank me, Sydney. Yeah. We have a lot of questions in this survey. In fact, there's over 140 different data points on this. If anybody's interested in getting more of it, you can go to OrionX.net AI. We are selling the survey too. This is your commercial message that we're giving special academic discounts that are very deep for folks involved in that. Any questions, comments, complaints? Did I go fast enough? What's that? Oh, let's take a look. 30%. That's not bad. That's not bad. I started at 35. I must have gone pretty quickly. Anything else? Comments? Questions? No? Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, you've got 7% saying they're expert. I'm probably going to buy the fact that 7% are. I'm surprised that's not a bit bigger, given how much talk there is around AI and machine learning, deep learning. But I think that this is the reality. It's a small number that are truly experts in this. Sure. And you always run into those guys in bars that are the expert in everything, right? So there you go. Okay, well that's it then. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.